Once again, important to note that both of these players, none of these players have their tags in their name. So Cake at the start playing for Impressive Play, while Rocker is playing for vVv, as it is a Protoss versus Protoss on Shakura's Plateau.
I was on Impressive Play's website a little bit earlier looking at some of their player information, and Cake has Shakura's Plateau listed as his favorite map. So this is definitely maybe a little bit of home field advantage for him, or a map he's comfortable on. And that's always fun because it means that players are going to be much more crisp with their builds and, fine play.
Yeah, fine play, always nice to see, as Rocker spawns as the purple Protoss player on the top left-hand side, and Cake spawning as the pink Protoss player, and I'm getting a little bit colorblind. This is going to be a very, very difficult game to cast.
Yeah, we've had Easter colors, we've had Christmas colors, and these are sort of the pretty colors. We got pink and purple here. So both players showing that they're comfortable with their perhaps feminine side, or their stylistic choices here as we kill time before the first pylons go down.
Yeah, if we saw any probes moving out early on, I'm sure we would make mention of it. But pretty much in a Protoss versus Protoss mirror match, we're going to see not too many differences, but Rocker proving me wrong, deciding to scout out and doing a little bit early going on, as it looks like there is going to be a pause, please. And taking a look at this, Rocker scouting out with a 9 probe. We've seen how destructive that can be, especially in a Protoss versus Protoss mirror match, where scouting out that early may mean a delay in your warp gate tech by 15 seconds.
Yeah, typically about a minute worth of mining for a probe is about 50 minerals, give or take. I think somebody by the name of Blizz Shouter had a pretty awesome mineral saturation spreadsheet guide video several months ago, maybe even a year ago, that I saw. So basically sending that probe costs you 50 minerals a minute, and that can be big. That can be a gateway after 3 minutes, especially if your opponent doesn't scout until a little bit later. So as you mentioned, these timings in these mirror matchups, especially PvP, need to be so sharp, and they're so important.
Yeah, it's going to really come down to this, and we're really going to see, if you take a look at the mineral count right now, it's already a 15 mineral advantage for Cake. So a Cake with a 15 mineral advantage, we'll see what's going to happen here as this translates over, and Cake unpausing the game, getting the game once again to continue, as we now see the probe wandering around, and he will be able to scout out his opponent rather quickly.
Yeah, and let's talk about that a little bit. Obviously, there's a disadvantage to scouting this early, but there's advantages too. If Cake was going for some sort of 2-gate, early Zealot cheese, that would be scouted out by Rocker. If he was going, really fast gas, you might be able to see a second gas before that probe is taken down by the first Stalker that comes out. So Rocker's going to get some information here, and Cake sending his probe a little bit later. So as of now, I don't think that Rocker's information is going to pay off all too well. Didn't see a 2-gate, and I think that Cake's going to get into Rocker's base in plenty of time to get equal scouting information.
Yeah, I think that was probably, or that definitely is going to be an issue. If you take a look at the income slightly higher for for Cake, as Cake does have one additional probe right now, but Rocker is saving some energy on his Nexus, and so is Cake. So I'm interested to see where that Chrono Boost energy will be spent. If it will be spent on the early gateway, on the Cybernetics core, what's happening, as Cake does have a slight advantage on the Cybernetics core as well, getting it in about 5 seconds faster, and we'll see whether or not this game of seconds does add up to a victory, whether early scouting was the beginning of the end.
Yeah, now it looks like Cake's one probe is going to be taken down by Rocker. So Rocker, a beautiful trap there. Both players using that initial scouting probe just to pound on the building, and Cake was trapped there. So Rocker going to be denying all the scouting here unless Cake gets out another probe into his base. But by that point, a Stalker is going to be there. So Rocker is going to have the scouting advantage, and he's going to be able to see everything going on in Cake's base without returning the favor.
Well, Rocker does get shooed away by the Zealot. The Zealot now chasing back in. It looks like a Stalker will be chrono boosted out, or at least be trained out. And Rocker really wants to see whether or not, the second gas does have 3 probes mining on it. And there's still a lot of energy on the Nexus. This is important to note, as the probe now needs to get the heck out of dodge. The Stalker is about to come online, and the probe will run for his mechanical life and perhaps return to mining once more.
Yeah, this would sort of signify a 4-gate with all this this chrono there, as he did just now chrono out that cybernetics core, uh, but he did chrono out a number of stalkers earlier as well. We do see this second gateway already out for Rocker, so Rocker coming out with his own stalkers, and now we sort of get into that micro war of PvP where you've got 3 or 4 units, maybe a zealot, maybe a few stalkers, and you try to keep everything alive while focusing down your opponent's units, and it just goes back and forth.
Yeah, it's gonna really play out pretty interestingly, and I'm really curious as to whether or not the robotics facility will come online. And we do see it from Rocker. So Rocker going for a robo, and if he's able to train up 2 or 3 or 2 immortals, this would be a really big play, as both players microing out, and you can see it is 3 stalkers. Oh, 1 zealot overexposing himself just a little bit. He is gonna actually take some real damage there. And now Cake is a little bit on the losing end, but now another stalker coming in as well. So both sides having to be very careful. And oh, 1 zealot, is it going to get taken down? No, down to 1 hit point. And Cake is certainly happy that the zealot does have 1 base armor.
Yeah, there's that micro where I was talking about earlier, and we do see a 3rd gateway being added, now 4th gateway being added for Rocker. So he's going to have a robotics facility as well as 4 gates, meaning he's probably not going to be doing too much with that robotics facility besides an observer early on, and actually coming out with an immortal. So he's spending his resources, keeping them low, making sure he's producing out of these warp gates as well as that robotics facility, and that he's going to be able to defend against any sort of early pressure coming from Cake.
Yeah, I think what Rocker's trying to do now is he's just trying to warp in sentries, use the immortal with the range of 6, being able to push back against the attack. There's not going to be much here. There's a lot of stalkers in this engagement group, but the stalkers only with the range of 6 right now, and that immortal up on that high ground. The proxy pylon on the low ground will get taken down, and Rocker losing all of his stalkers and sentries here. What a horrible engagement.
Yeah, Rocker's in a lot of trouble, basically losing all of his units there. I'm not sure if he took down anything, and he had to immediately warp in sentries on the high ground. He's got an immortal there as well, trying to pound away against those stalkers, but just 9 stalkers and a zealot here, just that 1 HP zealot, and Cake's gonna have to bust up this ramp at some point. He doesn't know how many force fields there are. There's basically that one and no more, so Rocker, I think, is in a lot of trouble. He's going to have to get up another sentry here to get a force field, and he just doesn't have the gas for it. And here comes Cake.
Yeah, this is going to be a problem. Rocker does have a sentry now warping in, but it may be too little too late. The force field's not down, and Rocker is going to be forced to say GG there. And a little bit of a mistakes left and right. Not quite sure what could have been done differently.
Yeah, I think that low